Oh, very well done.
Catherine Delahunty.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Kia ora koutou katoa, ko tēnei pō. I'm really pleased to support this bill, and if you listen to the last speaker, it was a little bit like a parallel universe, the age of Aquarius, the summer of love, whereby the teaching profession have actually had a great run with Heke Parata. It's all been just a beautiful... The flower children of the government have embraced the teaching profession. It's been, you know, hand in hand through a field of daisies. Unfortunately, I've been here the whole time, and I've sat through all these bills, and I've listened to every submission on them, and I support this bill because the conversation about the status of teachers is really important. We are now in a low trust environment between the education profession and the government. So when the government put up Education Bill number 2, I think it was, that it talked about changing from ethics to conduct, in that low trust environment, broken by the debacle of national standards, the absurdity of charter schools, and a number of other underfunding initiatives that have destroyed trust, there was no appetite from the teaching profession to see a change that would lead from being recognised as professionals with ethics to people who needed to be controlled by a code of conduct. And so despite the fact that Educans has a greater relationship with the sector than the government does, and have created a draft code without mentioning the word conduct, because they know, even though the government hasn't grasped this concept, that that was offensive, it will be good to get this bill to the Select Committee to have the conversation about the status of the teaching profession. Now, ironically, Educans was created, one of their new functions is to lift the status of the profession, while at the very moment the government, by saying they needed a controlling code of conduct, not a code of ethics, had undermined what was already a fragile and shaky relationship. So it's a bit like, you know, the partner who's in denial that there's any problem. Oh no, we've got a great relationship, everything's fantastic. Meanwhile, the house is falling apart. Meanwhile, the other partner is struggling to have a voice. And in this bill, we have a chance to discuss, have that voice, discuss what it wants. And far from being something that Ruth Dyson made up, it's actually what the teaching profession want to talk about. Because there's a difference between ethics and behaviour. Conduct relates to behaviour, ethics relates to standards and relates to professionalism. And the teaching profession, much like the medical profession, is highly involved in very, very ethical decisions every single day about working with young people and about using their professional judgment around developing the minds of the future of this country. And so those ethics were what that code of ethics was about. And that was a recognition of the status of the profession. One way that we lift the status of the profession, which is the supposed function of Educans, is to recognise that that's what it is. And that this workforce, these public servants, should never be shut down because educators are the critic and conscience of society, not only at university, but at every situation. We need our educators to be free to say what they think, particularly about education, but in fact about anything, any social issue in society, because the educators are the practitioners who reflect. And this Code of Ethics Bill is about recognising the reflective nature of the practitioners who operate at that level. And so I'm sorry, but the previous speakers from the government are just completely wrong about this. One of the other reasons I'm really passionate about the Code of Ethics is that it creates an obligation under Te Treaty of Waitangi and the commitment to Māori's tangata whenua. And that, for the Green Party, is a pretty critical thing as well. And so we're pleased to see that this is highlighted in Ruth Dyson's bill, as she has also highlighted the issue about not silencing people as critics and conscience of society. So we don't need punitive measures. We need a debate about how to lift the status of the most vital profession that works with our young people every day. And so the Green Party would like to see this go forward. We're pleased to support the bill, and we feel sorry that the summer of love fantasy doesn't really exist between the sector and government. But when there's a change of government, well, at least we'll get to reality and we can start improving things from there. So Bring it on. Thank you very much, Mr Speaker.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Joe Goodhue.